Okay, so now let me get to my slideshow. All right, perfect. Can everybody see the slideshow now? Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, like I said, we are talking about staying safe from germs today, but first I want to talk a little bit about just some general terminology. So what can y'all tell me about germs? What are germs? Looks like everybody knows. So let's see. Your name says Santiago. Is that you? Okay, Santiago, what do you think?
I think germs are little diseases.
Little diseases. And then BK says creatures that make you sick. Yeah, both of y'all are absolutely right. So germs, that's a really good like basic definition. So germs are tiny organisms that cause disease in plants or animals, which is basically exactly what y'all said. They're just little tiny things and they can make you not feel so good. So there are lots of different kinds of germs, and some that y'all might have been hearing about recently are coronavirus. One you might not have heard of is the rhinovirus, but you would know it as the common cold. And then, of course, the influenza virus, which is the flu. So all of those have one thing in common in that they are all viruses, which is actually a specific type of germ. There are different types of germs. So what are some ways that we pass germs among each other? Let's see, Carter, what do you think?
I think that that you sneeze or touch somebody after you sneezed on your hand, and then the germs can get onto your skin. If you've been scratching somewhere, and then that helps the germs get into your body.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Those are a lot of really effective ways to spread around germs. Anytime you hug another person or even just like talking really close with another person can spread germs. BK says getting close to each other. Like I said, when you're close together and talking to each other, that can pass germs. Sneezing, coughing, touching things after wiping your face. There are lots of ways that we can pass germs through each other, even through our hands. So germs pass a lot more easily than you might think that they would. And they really do get on anything and everything around you. So a really good way to think about it is germs kind of work the same way glitter does. So all of y'all have done a craft with glitter before, right? So you know that when you touch glitter, especially if you get it all over your hands, if you don't wash your hands after, then for the rest of the day, you're just going to be getting glitter all over everything around you. So the next time you go to wash your hands, kind of think about that. Just imagine you've got glitter all over your hands and you need to wash all of it off so that you're not spreading it all over everything that you touch that day. Because as we know, glitter is really hard to get out and it can kind of spread everywhere you go. Okay, so now we're going to get acquainted with a few different types of germs. So like I said, we just talked about the flu, we talked about COVID, those are viruses. And viruses are not really, so the word organism means a living thing. Viruses aren't really a living thing. They're kind of in this weird place where they're not really alive, they're not really not alive, but they're basically made of little tiny packets of genetic material that are wrapped up in protein, but they can make you really sick. They get into your body and they reproduce inside of your body's cells, and they make you really not feel good. So typically you get things like chickenpox or the flu or COVID, and you'll get a fever. And what a fever is doing when your body gets really, really hot, it's trying to kill the virus because the virus can't live in a temperature that hot. So once you get kind of above that 100-degree mark, that's when the virus is hopefully going to kind of die off. But another type are bacteria, which are actually slightly bigger than viruses are. And they are organisms. They're like kind of like teeny tiny little animals. And they live on all types of surfaces. They can cause things like sore throats, cavities, pneumonia, so just common things that everybody's probably had. But not all bacteria are actually bad. You have a lot of bacteria in your stomach that are good for you, and they help you digest, and they can actually keep you safe from certain sicknesses. So there aren't really good viruses, but there are good bacteria and bad bacteria. And then another type of germ are fungi, which are teeny tiny plants. And so they have spores or seeds that kind of float through the air and they'll land on surfaces. They really like to grow in dark, wet places. And they cause things like athlete's foot or things like ringworm. I don't know if y'all have ever had one of those before, but typically if it's something that makes you kind of itchy on your skin, it's probably some kind of fungus that's causing that. All right, so those are kind of the types of germs. Does anybody have any questions so far? No? Oh, it looks like Carter does. Carter, what's your question?
Like, how are like, oh, never mind. Give me a second.
Okay, I'll come back to you if you come up with it again. Santiago, did you have a question? Okay, what's your question?
Why are funguses bigger than viruses?
That's a great question. Viruses just are so much tinier than both bacteria and fungi. Viruses are just made of basically a couple of cells. Cells are the tiniest portions of like, a body. Whereas bacteria and fungi are made of lots of different cells because they're actually organisms, they're living things. Whereas bacteria is just a tiny little piece of something wrapped in some protein. I hope that makes sense, but they're all pretty tiny. We can't really see any of these with just our plain eyesight. Okay, now Serenity, what was your question?
I have two.
Mhm.
All right, the first one is, what's a ringworm, or is it ringsworm?
So ringworm, the name is misleading because it's not actually caused by a worm. A ringworm is caused by a parasite, and you usually see ringworm in like stray animals, and it spreads really easily in like animal shelters.
Are they
So, for
white?
instance, they look kind of white. Yeah, your
Yeah,
skin this like circular like shape on it. I have actually had ringworm before. I brought home my cat from the animal shelter when she was a little baby, and she had ringworm. And I was cuddling with her, and I got ringworm actually on my arm. So it was just really itchy. It made this like ring shape, and it's not fun.
Okay, my second question is, how was COVID made?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I think scientists aren't 100% sure yet how COVID first came about, but there are lots of diseases that can come up in just different species. So there are some diseases that strictly stick to animals, and there are others that can pass to humans. And I'm pretty sure we know that COVID was initially only present in animals, like bats, for instance. You hear a lot about bats. Apparently, bats could get COVID at one time, or a certain strain of COVID. And somehow, probably between some kind of really close contact between humans and animals, COVID did pass from an animal to a human. So that's why we have it now. But as far as how it first, I don't know, came to be, I can't really answer that, and I'm not sure many scientists really can either. That's the slightly scary thing about some kinds of germs. We can't be 100% sure where some of them come from. All right, any other questions for now? All right, if not, we're heading on to the next slide. Okay, so where are some common places y'all think of germs as being? We're seeing a few on the screen, but are there any other than a toilet, a kitchen sink, or a phone that y'all can think of? Okay, Carter, what do you think?
Money, because it has passed through many people.
That is a great thought. Yeah, especially like dollars and coins, like physical money, that has tons of germs on it. You're absolutely right. And even like a credit card or something like that can build up a lot of germs just because you don't really clean it very often, but you do pass it to various people. Very good thought. Okay, Santiago, what do you think?
I think doorknobs.
Doorknobs are a good one too. We touch them a lot. And when you're cleaning, you don't always think to clean a doorknob either. So that's a great place for germs to build up. Okay, Serenity, did you have another idea?
Your what's it called? Your computers.
Yeah, your computer keyboard, your kind of trackpad, those can get a lot of germs on them. And especially like the surface of the screen, that's upright all the time. That's a great range for like sneezing or coughing. You can get lots of stuff on a computer. Mm. So I put on the screen a toilet seat, a kitchen counter, and a smartphone. So out of those three things, which one do y'all bet has the most germs on it? What do you think, Serenity?
I would think mostly the toilet.
Okay, what do you
Yeah.
think, Carter? Do Carter and Carly, do y'all have any other ideas?
You go first, Carly.
The toilet.
The toilet. Okay, Carly
I
says the
think-
toilet. What do you think, Carter?
I think a phone, because some people just sell phones. They just sell phones, and sometimes people give their phones to other people to fix it. Their breaks not good, they give it to people to fix it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we've got 2 votes for the toilet and 1 vote for the phone. Santiago, what do you think?
I think the phone too, because like he said, they just sell them out without cleaning them.
Yeah, you don't really think to clean your phone often, do you? Okay, so we had 2 votes for the phone and 2 votes for the toilet, and now I'm going to show y'all. There was actually an experiment that a website did a few years ago. They made a video where they actually like swabbed a few surfaces of just commonly used household items, and they tested them to see how many bacteria they could find on the surfaces. So they tested a toilet seat, a kitchen counter, and a phone, and the phone had by far the most bacteria on it. So Carter and Santiago, y'all were absolutely on the right track. Since you don't really think to clean your phone, it just builds up a ton of bacteria. And a lot of people, like to bring their phone into the bathroom and like look at it while they're on the toilet. So your hands aren't clean when you're doing that. You can get a lot of germs on your phone really easily, and it's really easy for them to spread. So a lot of people didn't expect necessarily that that the phone would have the most bacteria on it, but it just has a ton, which is crazy to me. I'm gonna have to sanitize my phone tonight after talking about this. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit more about sneezes and coughs, because there are a lot of germs in sneezes and coughs, and they spread a lot more than you would expect them to. A sneeze or a cough can expel your germs way more than you actually think that it would. So I kind of broke down what exactly is in a cough when you do cough. So it expels about 3/4 a liter of air, saliva droplets, which just means spit, and mucus or boogers. So that'll get, if you don't cover your mouth, that's going to get on everything in front of you. It's just going to fly. With a sneeze, even more than a cough, because a sneeze is like even more forceful. So I wanted to see what exactly was in a cough. And so I myself did a little bit of an experiment. So how many of y'all did the Foldscope lesson with me? The one where I gave y'all the little paper microscopes? Did any of y'all do that one? Okay, Carter did. Looks like Santiago didn't. Serenity didn't. Okay, well, Carter, if you still have your Foldscope, then you can try this experiment too. So what I did was, so every time I eat something spicy, it makes me cough. I'm not sick, I just want to clarify. But when I do eat something spicy, I kind of start coughing, and I knew that that was going to happen. So I grabbed one of my slides for my Foldscope and I put a little bit of tape on the back. And so I got it all ready to put something on it. And once I got done eating my spicy food, I waited until I needed to cough, and I picked up that slide and I just coughed right onto it. So after I'd coughed onto it, I put some tape over top to kind of trap everything on there. And these pictures that y'all are seeing are what I coughed out. So it's kind of gross, but this just shows you that there's a lot of stuff that's coming out when you cough. So I think I've mainly got, like, you can see little spit droplets essentially. You can also see this kind of weird little arrow shaped thing in there. I looked it up, and that's probably actually like loose skin cells. This is getting really gross. I'm sorry, but the point is, this is kind of why you should cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze, because there's a lot of stuff that's flying out of your mouth. But yeah, if y'all have your fold scope or you have a chance to use another type of microscope, I encourage doing this experiment because it's pretty interesting to see what actually will come out of your mouth. Okay, so now we're gonna stop looking at what I coughed out a couple days ago. So how far do y'all think a sneeze goes in terms of feet? Like when you sneeze in front of you, how far do y'all think that travels? Carter, what do you think?
I think it keeps on traveling on, going from one person to another, and then if it goes to a person that's healthy and clean, I think it will start to I think it will start to die.
Yeah, as far as person to person, it will spread some. And different types of germs kind of take longer to die than others. Like bacteria, you know, they're little organisms, they can live on surfaces for several days, but a virus is going to die a lot quicker. A virus will only live maybe like 24 hours on a surface, depending on what the surface is. Okay, but when you sneeze, how far, like physical distance wise, do we think it goes? Serenity.
I would think it would go at least it would go pretty far. It depends where you're standing, and it could go on someone else, can go on a car, can go a baby, or something like that.
Yeah, you do have to consider what's in front of you. It's going to stop traveling if there's something kind of blocking the way in front of you. That's right. Okay, Santiago, what do you think?
I think that it goes about 12 feet.
Okay, so we've got a guess of 12 feet for a sneeze. That's a pretty long way. But I want to show y'all a video where somebody actually measured how far a sneeze was going to go. So this is going to be tricky because I'm going to have to mute myself on one computer and get on the other. So give me half a second that you won't hear from me, and then I'll pull up the video.
Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus now bundled together. The greatest stories and characters, the largest streaming TV library, and
when Adam sneezes, we need to see how far the stuff that comes out of his nose travels. And so when Adam sneezes, we need to see how far the stuff that comes out of his nose travels. And so to do that, I'm going to add this cherry-flavored red kids drink mix to the snuff that he inhales. And when he sneezes, hopefully we'll see little red dots on this lovely strip of white paper.
This time, Adam's sneeze should leave a telltale trail of cherry-colored tracks.
Oh. Oh, it's irritating and sweet and fruity. Oh, it's happening. Achoo!
Gesundheit. And now to check the distance.
I don't see any red flecks.
Unfortunately, Adam's fruity sneeze hasn't left a mark. But as always, there's a solution.
We have a new plan. The new plan is rather than snort any more colored things, I'm going to go back to the snuff, but just before I sneeze, I'm going to spray some uncut food dye into my mouth. Yeah, that ought to show up.
Adam takes a snort of snuff and a swig of food coloring.
Oh God, it looks like a murder scene here. Ah.
That time around, the sneeze went quite literally with flying colors.
Ah. We got one out here at 17 feet. That's not bad.
No, you're halfway there, over halfway. But I think that's about it.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I think I need to then try again. We're making modern art as well as some science.
Mythbusters next Wednesday at 9. It's all.
Okay. Can y'all hear me now? I'm trying to make sure that I don't have double audio right now. Okay, y'all can hear me? Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you. All right, so like we saw, a sneeze can go pretty far. We had a hypothesis of about 12 feet, right? And I think they got it to like 17 feet, didn't they? Like 17 or 18? It was a really long way. I couldn't hear the video very well. I'm sorry I couldn't make it much louder. But yeah, they made it go really, really far. I thought that was a pretty funny video with the red food dye. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. Serenity, did you have a question?
Oh no, I just wanted to say I couldn't hear it because the TV's on, so just a heads up.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so that just kind of shows how like forceful sneezes are and how much exactly comes out when you do sneeze. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm muted on my other laptop. 1 second. Okay, so we're on the screen. Okay, so knowing all of that, knowing how far a sneeze travels, especially when we don't cover our mouth, we know that when we do cover our mouth, it's actually really helping. But when you cover your mouth with your hand, what's the problem with that? You've just washed your hands and then you cover your mouth with your hand to cough. Carter, what do you think?
I think that if you sneeze on your hands and you literally touch something like some food or another person's hand, that germ will jump off from one person to another if the person keeps on spraying it if they don't wash off their hands.
That's right. Yeah. So you get germs on your hands. Santiago, did you have something else to say too?
Yeah, just like he said, germs can spread, and if you just sneeze on your hand, that'll just spread if you open it wide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just continues to get things messy. It's not as bad as if you just sneezed out in the open, but you're still spreading stuff around when you sneeze into your hand and then go ahead and touch stuff. So it's a little bit better to actually cough and sneeze into your elbow. So when you do cough or sneeze, kind of do that, and that'll catch your cough or sneeze without the risk of you then, spreading those germs around anyway, because we touch things with our hands all day long, but you're not really going around touching things with the inside of your elbow, or at least most people aren't. So the way that you can remember that is to pose like a vampire when you cough or sneeze. So you know how vampires have their little cape and they pull it up around their face? Just imagine you're a vampire, and whenever you go to cough or sneeze, just pull your cloak around your nose and mouth. I think that's kind of a fun way to remember it. So I hope y'all think of that the next time you do need to cough or sneeze. So covering our cough or sneeze obviously is one thing that we can do to stay healthy. But what are some other ways that we can, keep germs away from us and stay as healthy as possible? Carter, what do you think?
Wash your hands. Don't touch as much stuff if you're sick.
Yeah, those are really good ones. Washing your hands is really important. We'll come back to that one in a moment. Santiago, do you have any other ideas?
Yeah, maybe after you touch something, put some hand sanitizer.
Yeah, hand sanitizer is a really good idea. Washing your hands is still better than hand sanitizer most of the time, because you can get almost everything off of your hands washing them, but the hand sanitizer won't do quite as much, but it does still help, especially if you're washing your hands and then hand sanitizer. So there are lots of things we can do. It's also good to kind of limit touching your face. If you need to wipe your nose or something like that, it's better to use a tissue than like wiping your nose with your hand, for instance. You can limit contact with people who are sick. So obviously right now we're socially distancing, we're all staying away from each other, because if we're not nearby, then we're not going to pass those germs among ourselves. And there's one very important thing we missed that we're all having to do right now, is wearing a mask. So the stuff about the coughing and the sneezing also shows why it's important to wear your mask correctly. You want it covering both your nose and your mouth, because when you sneeze, things are coming out of your nose too. It's not just your mouth. And when you breathe too. When you breathe, there are little particles that you can't see that float out of your nose and mouth. So when you wear your mask, you want to wear it right so that it catches as many of those particles as it possibly can. I've got mine on a string, so it's easily accessible after I finish talking to y'all. But yeah, so those are some good ones. You can clean your phone like we talked about. I think all of us are probably going to go clean our phones after this, after learning just how much gross stuff can build up on them. So when you wash your hands, there is a correct way to do it. So for instance, if I'm just rubbing my palms together, is that going to really get my hands clean? No. We're missing a few parts of our hands, right? So what if I rub my palms together and then I kind of rub the backs of my hands together too? Does that get everything? No? Okay, I would still be missing between my fingers, right? So you want to get between your fingers, you want to get your thumbs, you'd be missing under your fingernails too. And do y'all know how long you're supposed to wash your hands in order for it to be effective? Santiago, what do you think?
Well, I do 20 seconds, but sometimes I've seen like 40 seconds.
Yeah, 40 seconds is like an extra good clean, but 20 seconds is generally all you need. Okay, so we know how to wash our hands. We know how long to wash our hands. Personally, I just count backward from 20 when I wash my hands, but there are fun ways to do it too. Like you can sing a song that's about 20 seconds long. I think Happy Birthday is about 20 seconds long. Or you can sing the alphabet song twice. Do y'all have any other tricks that you use to remember how long to wash your hands? Serenity? It looks like you're still muted.
I mean, sometimes I count 2 minutes. Okay, so I count to 60 2 times, which makes 2 minutes. And that's how long I wash my hands. That way I know that they're clean.
Yeah, that's washing them for a really long time. 2 minutes they're going to be very, very clean after that. There was actually one podcast that I listened to was talking about hand washing techniques, and a lot of people miss their thumbs. And so the way that they said to wash your thumbs, they called it milking your thumbs, like you milk a cow. So you take your fist around your thumb and you kind of wipe it off with your fist, and that'll get your thumbs clean. So there's just another fun way to remember that. Oh, the Greens say that today is their mom's birthday. So happy birthday. All right, so next, what are we doing next? Oh, next we're going to do our fun experiment to see how soap works. So let's see if I can get back to my Zoom page so that I can show y'all what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop screen share.
Excuse me? Mm-hmm. You kind of, oh, my bad. I couldn't hear you, what you said we were doing.
Oh, we're gonna do our experiment, the thing that I asked y'all to get a few materials for ahead of time. So I'm sorry, I'm on 2 screens right now, so I'm sorry if I'm looking at the wrong one while I'm talking. But so I asked y'all ahead of time to go ahead and get a bowl or a deep plate so that we can put water in it. So go ahead and get that out. Go ahead and get your water, get your pepper, get your little bit of dish soap, and we will get started with that experiment. So let me figure out which screen is showing. Oh, here we go. Wait, that's still the wrong one. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna turn around my view so that y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay, can y'all see my desk right now? Yeah, okay, perfect. So let's see if I can do this without spilling a bunch of water everywhere. So I've got, y'all should have either a bowl or, like I said, I used kind of a deep plate. A plate will work. And I'm gonna pour some water in it.
I can't see the desk.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay, do we see it now?
No.
No? Does everybody else see it? Okay, Serenity, you might have to change your view in Zoom. So there should be, where everybody's pictures are, there should be kind of a little thing in the top right corner that says view, or it'll just have like some little squares on it. And if you click on that, you'll be able to see, you should be able to see everybody's pictures.
It's called gallery view.
There we go, gallery view, yeah. And even if you can't really see what I'm doing very well, if you can do what I ask you to do over the audio, then you'll be able to see the experiment with the stuff that you got in front of you. All right, so we've got our bowl of water or our plate of water if you're me. And now we're gonna take our pepper. I don't have very much left, as you can see, but I'm gonna use some pepper and sprinkle it over the top of my water. You don't need a ton, just enough that you can see it.
And then go to the next one.
All right, are we ready with our pepper over our water?
Excuse me.
Okay. Santiago, did you have a question?
No, but I think I put too much pepper.
How much did you put in? I think that looks okay. No, you'll be fine with that. That'll work just fine. Okay, so now we've got our pepper in our bowl. Try and put your finger into the bowl. Just put your finger in the water. Does anything happen when you do that? No, you might get some pepper on your finger, but nothing's really going to happen when you do that. Okay, now you're going to take Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this enough or do I put a little bit more?
I would put a little bit more because I can't see it personally. If you can see it on the surface, then you should be fine. But if you can't really see it, I would put a little bit more. Okay, so I have put a little bit of dish soap on the tip of my finger. You just need like a drop. You really don't need very much. So I'll wait for everybody to get the dish soap on their finger and then we'll do this last part together.
Not over this.
I don't know.
Or go get the one under the bathroom.
All right, so we've got some dish soap on our finger. Now put the part of your finger that's got the dish soap on it on the surface of the water and see what happens.
What this one?
All right, what happened? What did y'all see?
Oh, well.
You're supposed to dip your finger on the top and see what happens.
Look. What happened on my screen? What happened?
The pepper just moved.
Yeah, it moved. It all got out of the way. It kind of ran to the corners of the plate. Yeah, BK says the water pushed away. That's absolutely right. Okay, I'm going to turn my screen around. All right, so y'all saw it either in your own little what I did. But yeah, so the water just like, or the water pushed all of that pepper away to the sides of the bowl, and it's pretty dramatic too. It happens really quickly. So basically what that tells us about soap is that when you use soap when you wash your hands, that's really important because soap is formulated to break the surface tension of water and to wrap around little pieces of whatever's on your hands, even things as small as germs, so that it can lift them off your skin and then they can be washed down the drain. So that's why it doesn't work when you just use water to wash your hands. That's not enough to get your hands actually clean. Oh, and I also wanted to tell y'all another way that you can do this experiment that's really fun. Help with dishes tonight after dinner. Whoever's cooking in your house, just ask them if you can help them with the dishes. And get like the greasiest or oiliest pot or pan that was used. Put some water in it, wait until that oil kind of rises to the top, and then take your dish soap and put 1 drop of oil right in the middle of that pan, and you'll see that same thing happen of all the oil just pushed to the sides. I like to do that every time I do the dishes, so I recommend it. Okay, Carter, did you have a question?
No, but once I put my finger into like the pepper, the bubbles of the soap just came to my finger.
Oh, interesting. So the soap is kind of like attracting the rest of the soap in the container. There are other ways other things you can kind of gather from this experiment. Oh, thank you, BK. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's just about the last thing. Oh, not quite the last thing. I have one thing I wanted to tell y'all about before y'all leave. I'm going to share my screen one more time so I can show y'all something real quick. All right, so is everybody seeing the slideshow again? Okay, perfect. So we already talked about what we can do to stay healthy. Washing our hands and using soap are obviously really good things, but all of the stuff that we talked about today, obviously no one thing that we've suggested is going to guarantee that you won't get sick. When you wash your hands, there's still stuff that can happen that'll get you sick, or, you know, even wearing a mask isn't necessarily perfect during COVID times. But this has been being compared to what's called the Swiss cheese model recently, and I think this is really smart. So y'all have seen Swiss cheese. The slices have holes in them. And so each thing that you do to keep yourself from being sick, you can consider like a slice of Swiss cheese. It covers a little bit, so not all of the germs are going to get through it, but it has some holes, so at least a few will. But if you do a lot of different things to keep yourself from being sick, then the holes are less likely to line up, and you're less likely to have germs actually pass through those figurative holes. So all of the different things that we're layering on top of each other are just making it even more effective that we're not going to get sick, if that makes sense. So y'all can see in the picture, we've got avoid large indoor gatherings, keep 6 feet of social distance, wear a mask, and wash your hands. And the guy that's standing on the other side of all of those things that he's done to keep himself healthy is not getting hit by any of those germs because all of those holes have been blocked along the way. So if you're getting a little bit discouraged with all of this stuff that we're having to do to keep ourselves safe, you can think about this and how all of those little things add up to really, really keep you safe and healthy. And fortunately, it looks like we're reaching the end of all of this pandemic stuff. So hopefully we won't have to do this stuff for much longer anyway. And lastly, before I let y'all go, if you liked this presentation and you like hearing things about kind of the grosser side of science, then you'll enjoy a program that we have coming up called Gross History. This is on Thursdays at 4:30 starting January 28th. And so it's kind of after usual school hours. It's for grades 1st through 5th, and we're going to talk about Egyptian mummies, mammoth hunters, and sickness in the 16th century. So if any of y'all are interested in that, if that sounds good to any of you, make sure you send me an email because I am going to be running that. And I would absolutely love to see y'all there. So do y'all have any questions? I don't see any raised hands. Oh, Santiago.
What are we going to do next month?
Oh, great question. Next month, I'm starting a lesson that I'm calling Valentine's Theme. So we're going to be doing kind of Valentine's themed science activities together. So it's going to have to do with like hearts and love and stuff like that. It's going to be very fun. And that one should be, let me see. I can figure out what the date of the next Homeschool Hub is going to be. I will see y'all on February the 2nd, which is a Tuesday as usual at noon. I'll be sending out an information email to parents about that really soon. So yeah, make sure you let them know to sign you up. Did you have another question, Santiago?
Yeah. Why? No, I didn't.
Okay.
Why did the pepper just spread all around?
So water has what's called surface tension, and that just means all of the molecules in water like hold together really tightly on the surface. But when you touch it with the soap, it breaks that surface tension, and all of those water molecules like let go of each other and they move. So that's why the pepper kind of got repelled. And soap also will kind of wrap around whatever's in water and will like move it. So yeah, that's what made it just repel to the edges of the plate. All right, so if there are no more questions, I just wanted to thank y'all so much for coming back to Homeschool Hub in 2021. And I guess I will see y'all next time.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
It dissolved in the water, kind of with a little soap.
Bye.